All right, so I wanted to cover Roman numerals because it's a fairly challenging program. It's a very popular coding challenge as an interview question from a lot of people. It takes many different shapes. But I also wanted to cover some more advanced Git things. Yesterday, I just wanted to get people used to, Git add, Git commit, Git push, and those types of things. I'm going to talk a little bit more about like why GitHub exists and the benefits of it, how to check out to already existing branches, how to pull from master, how to do all these different types of things. All right, so first we're here on GitHub. Remember that Git is just version control software, and GitHub is just the name of an online company that happens to take advantage of Git, of the name Git. It's a place kind of like an online Dropbox for all things code. And using the Git software, you can push things up and pull things down, which just means upload and download different bits of code. Now, what you'll notice at the very top of this, we have our Roman numerals. There's two ways to do things. One of them, well, let's start with is there like a Microsoft Paint for Mac? Online Paint software? Just because I know I have some remote with me, so I don't want to forget that. Sumo Paint online image, and no, I just want online.
For something to download?
No, literally something in the browser.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Are you trying to draw on your screen?
I'm just trying to draw on the screen. I got it.
Maybe Obs can do it, but you have to set up Obs.
Okay. All right. So let's say that I have. Let's say I have a project. Oh gosh, it's terrible. But let's say that I have a project. This is the lifeline of a project. At any given time, maybe let's say that this is the beginning. Sorry, John, I'm gonna mute you real quick. Let's say this is the beginning, and this is the end. The end is never really in sight for software. It just keeps getting added on to more and more, unless they're just I'm gonna kill this. This is stupid. Let's say you have two developers working on at any given time, and right over here we have what's called. Let me put up here the master. Let's say that this is the master branch. Let's go back to So this is the lifeline of the project. And the master branch is kind of like the point of truth. It's like the original Bible, whatever it says in there for Christians, whatever it says in there, that's what it is, right? And let's say that you want to make some sort of edits along the way. Since everyone agrees that this is the agreed upon time, the agreed upon source of truth, you don't want to be editing the master branch. You want to make a photocopy of it. You want to make some annotations. You want to make a few changes, and then at one point you're going to submit your changes to somebody to review. Kind of like Wikipedia. Wikipedia, that's probably a better example. Wikipedia is whatever's on the page is the source of truth at that particular time. But you can make a copy of it, and then you can make a few edits, and then they can look at your changes and see does this person have enough references? Does this person, is the things that they're writing correct or incorrect, right? Is the sky red or is the sky blue? They can basically see all your changes, and if they agree with it, someone will say, it's good to go. I'm going to take all the changes you made and put it back inside the original Wikipedia page so that you're able to, everyone can now reference this as the new source of truth. The similar thing happens here with the master branch. So again, this is the lifeline of the project. And let's say somebody starts working right over here. Let's say they want to work on credit card payment processing. And then what they're going to do is they're going to check out a branch, meaning that I'm no longer altering the original, but I've checked out my own version of it, and I'm going to, maybe I'll call this credit card or something like that. And then this is the credit card branch. Let's say Josh is working on the credit card branch. He's making a bunch of changes. He's making a bunch of changes. A little bit later, and this doesn't have to be a hiring decision. I see your hand. I'll get to it. Let's pretend for a second it may not be a hiring decision, but somebody starts on the project after this particular point. Let's say they start right around here. Sean comes in. Sean's working on the login page. Both of them have started off of a master, and they know that that's their starting point is the point of truth. They take a branch so that they're no longer altering the original, and they make their changes. At one point, let's say Sean finishes first. He says, I'm done with all of my login stuff. I want to, at this point, merge all of my changes that I had on my own individual branch and put it onto the master branch. So it's kind of like, I have a Wikipedia page. I disagree with like what color the sky is, and I create a branch called like disagree with the color of the sky. He types all of the things. He says the sky is not blue, it's green, or something like that. At that point, he's saying, I want the changes that I made. Basically, the first sentence. Let's say it's a 50-page document. He just wants to alter the first sentence. Says the sky is green, it's not blue. At that point, he opens a pull request. There's that PR, that pull request thing that you saw yesterday. What that's saying is the code that I wrote, I want to merge it to master, and it's different from what the original master says. And let's say that he has all this login stuff. That's great. Everyone says it's good to go. His boss gives him a thumbs up. At this point, all of his changes are now in master. The master's starting point is no longer where he started. It's actually over here. For all future reference, the starting point for master is no longer at where it started. It moved up. You had a question?
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, I mean, every time someone goes work off of master, they're cloning the entire repo, right?
They are cloning the entire repo. That's correct. With all of the history and all of that kind of stuff. So we have person number one who's working on login, checks out a branch at a certain point, does all these changes, and then submits a request to merge his stuff into master. It gets merged in, but Josh is still over here. His credit card was based off of this original master. What happens, like, he's like, oh, I'm out of date. I have to grab all of the new stuff. At that particular point, Josh needs to do what's called pull from master. So at this point, once it's been merged, he needs to pull so that everything that he has is up to date. He's going to continue writing. He's going to continue writing. And at one point when he says he's fully finished, he's going to try to submit a pull request as well. And this kind of like layering on top of layering on top of layering is basically how most software companies work. You'll have 15 people working most of the time on 20 different things. So if each person is working on like 4 or 5 different things, like they have 4 or 5 different branches on one repo and they just keep piling on top of each other. So the master is always the point of truth. You never want to push directly to master.
How often does the branch that you're working on break because of a pull from master?
So the question was, how often does the branch that you're working on break because of a pull from master? It could happen at any time. So it's
you have to be like, oh great.
Yeah, it's
debug this.
exactly. So if you pull from master and it breaks some of your code, that's on you to fix that, because everyone has already agreed that master is the most up to date. Like they agree that that's the point of truth. Since your stuff is not in master, you have to fix it. Any questions on that? That's just a high level overview.
My question is about the word pull and the word push.
Yep.
So you're pulling from the master, like in that case, the guy working on the credit card, the guy
Over
working
here.
on the login.
Exactly.
Okay. But when they're bringing their changes back into the master, is that called push or that's also called pull?
So there's 3 terms that kind of get people a little bit confused. And right now it's like Git is going to be, it might go way over your head, and that's okay. We'll just do Git add commit push for a little while. So clone is to download, push is to upload, pull is to bring in all the new changes. So clone's download, push is upload, and pull is to bring down all the new changes. Let's see some of that in action. Sean?
Do you pull from master every day?
I pull from master multiple times a day. Most of the time, so let me preface that. The question was, do you pull from master every single day? I actually pull from master when you're working on a professional team multiple times a day. Build it into the morning, build it into the afternoon. The more you pull, the better off you are. Because let's say that you're writing code, 15 people are also writing code, and you haven't pulled in 4 days, like a bunch of stuff could have broken, and then all of your stuff, like a bunch of stuff could have been updated and all your stuff is broken. That would suck. So I pull as often as possible to get rid of headaches later. So let's start with the Roman numerals. So right now, should we talk about fork? I'll throw on one more thing, but we're not going to be using it in this particular class. You can also, so we talked about checking out branches to not work on the original like Wikipedia page. That's good. You can also do one step further and fork it from where you originally, from where its original place was under your particular name. So if you press fork, and you click on your particular name, I don't have it here because I've forked it over already. It's no longer, when you push, it's no longer pointing towards Foxtrot Platoon, but it's pointing towards your name. So it's even more safe. But for the sake of our class, we're just going to be cloning it down here. So again, I've got 3 windows open. I got my Chrome, my iTerm, and then I'll have my Sublime text up here as well. Grab this link, go over a couple. I'm going to git clone the Foxtrot Platoon. So I'm here under Roman numerals. So I've cloned it onto my desktop. I'm not inside of that folder quite yet. I've just downloaded it. Now I need to more or less double click it by changing the directory into Roman numerals. I'm here. I want to check out a new branch. So what is the command for checking out a new branch?
Git check out dash B.
Name you're gonna make it.
Yeah, John's solution branch. So I'm here. I'm going to open everything up in Sublime. And yeah, I think that should be okay. All right, let's start writing some code inside of JavaScript. So the first thing I asked people to do was to write pseudocode. And at least one pair had magic pseudocode, which was define the function, takes in a thing, convert to Roman. I was like, whoa, what happened during that particular bit of time? I want, like, when I'm thinking through these problems, I want to break down everything as much as possible, so every single step. So there's a magic step in there, and I'll make fun of you if you have a magic step in your pseudocode, like convert to Roman. I was like, I have no idea how to do that. That's the entire algorithm right there. And then it's like, return the answer. I was like, well, 3 is very, very big. It needs to be broken down a little bit more. I'm going to split the screen so vertically. Option Command 2. Again, you should probably memorize these or get used to using these shortcuts. It'll save you a lot of time. And we'll just call this pseudocode for now. So the first things first, I just want to, again, I want to break down this problem as much as possible. So we can start with define a function called toRoman. This function takes in a number. And all the way at the bottom, somewhere down here, return the Roman numeral string. When we get to whiteboarding problems in 2 weeks or so, that's the act of going up to a whiteboard. So you don't have a computer, you don't have a keyboard. It's solving a problem up at the whiteboard. It's kind of a mean hazing activity, in my opinion, but that's how most people do things. You want to know what's my input, like what am I getting in, and then what am I getting out. When I go to like a currency exchange, if I'm in France or something like that, what I'm giving in is going to be the US dollar. What I'm getting out is it euro? Yeah, I'm getting euros to come on out. Similarly, what am I giving in? I'm giving a regular number here. I think they're called Arabic. Takes in an Arabic number. And then my output is going to be a Roman numeral string. So I need to know what are you getting in and what are you getting out. Now all this magic in the middle here is kind of what I'm thinking through. Now before the tendency is like, let me just write some quick pseudocode to satisfy John and the instructors, and then let's just get to the code. That couldn't be further from the truth. If you have a clear plan, all you have to do is translate this directly into code. It doesn't matter what language you're doing it in, but you have, like, the more time you spend upfront pseudocoding, the less time you spend coding. So let's think about this Roman numeral thing. If I gave you the number 12, what would be the answer? What's the Roman numeral equivalent? XII. Now, the way that I think about this is, how did you get to that point in your own head?
Something I seen on TV.
What's that?
I saw something on TV.
No, I said, like, well, yeah, sure. But what about let's say 17.
I believe that to be XVII.
Okay, so let's say 17 for now. 17. You said XVII. In your brain, how did you calculate that? Like, you can't just say, like, it did it, right? Like, I mean, it did do it, but there's a process that your brain took to get to that point.
I have no idea what that process.
All right, let's ask somebody else.
So,
Sorry, I had Tristan's hand up.
oh no, yeah, I mean, just you kind of know what the variables are for each
Mm-hmm.
values. I being 1 all the way through n for 1,000.
Sure.
And you are essentially running through those variables and their associated values until you are decrementing. You start with the largest one that matches up, the largest value that you put into that value with the remainder or not.
Okay, stop right there. Okay, so you said two things. One was I have to have some sort of list of you said you know the list, but the computer doesn't know. So the computer's faster than you, but it's not smarter than you. That's the main thing. Computers can move a lot faster through mathematical calculations, but it's not smarter than you are. You have to tell it literally every single thing. So you said, I know that there's some sort of table between I is 1, V is 5, and so on and so forth. You need to tell the computer that. So I think that's my first thing I need to do. Create a list or table or something that contains Roman numerals and their numerical equivalent. I don't know, whatever. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing you said was, I'm going through the list until I get to what?
The largest variable associated with a value that passes through whatever number you're trying to
break down the passes through whatever value thing. That last little bit, I need to really break it down right there.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna.
Yeah. You were going to start biggest to smallest in that list, and then you're going to stop and identify whatever variable is associated with that value, the variable associated with the biggest value that passes through 17 successfully.
Okay. What's passes through?
Divisible by.
Divisible by, sure. Yeah. It could be, you can go in the division route, you can go in the remainder route. You could also just say the largest number that's smaller than the number that you passed in, right? Like if you go to 17, you know to pass over 50 and 40 and stuff. You know to stop at 10 because 10 is the largest number that's still smaller than the original, right? That's kind of where you stop. So I heard a few things. I'm going to iterate. I'm going to go over, right? So that's the process of iteration. I'm doing things over and over again. I'm going to iterate over that list above. Once you hit the first number, this is also, it looks like when you iterate, it has to be in order from largest number to smallest number, right?
Right.
So order by largest to smallest. Iterate over the list above. So I've started, for us, I believe it said we were starting at 1,500, 150, and then for our number 17, we get to 10. So once we get to the first number that is smaller than the input number on step number 2, what am I going to do then? So I stop there. I have the number 17, and I have your number 10. What do I do then?
You're going to subtract that smaller value from your the value you're trying to find.
Subtract
the value you're trying to find the equivalent.
Subtract that first number. I'm just referencing this thing here.
Okay.
From your input number.
Correct.
Okay. Do I do anything else?
And then you start that process over again. So
what about my X?
We have to store it somewhere.
What's that?
So we have to store that X somewhere, right?
Yep. So put that Roman numeral into a string somewhere. And then you say, so you subtract, and then basically repeat until when?
There's no, there's 0.
Yep. Yeah, repeat until input number triple equals 0, because we're doing stuff in code. How does this look? I think there's still a few magic steps, but this is kind of like the way I was thinking about it. First things first, create a function called toRoman. This function takes an Arabic number. We'll call it input number. We're going to create a list or table or something that contains all the Roman numerals, like the letters, and then their numerical equivalent ordered by largest all the way to smallest. We're going to iterate over this list. Once we hit the first number that's smaller than the input number, we're going to subtract that. Once you hit the first number that is smaller than input number, I'm going to subtract that number from input number put that Roman numeral into a string somewhere, repeat until the input number is equal to 0. We're missing one step. One thing. And that main thing is this string is like magically appearing here on line 7. So I'm just gonna, it's gonna take an Arabic number, call it input number. So it looks like I need a few things to set up. I need the list of numbers. I probably also need a create an empty string called answer or something like that. Repeat that until the number is equal to 0, and then return answer back out to screen. How's that sound? Look pretty good? This is one way of doing it. There are multiple other ways of doing it as well. Another option is like if I gave you 33 or something like that, you would know, you could do it this way. You could just iterate, get to 10, subtract 10, your number now becomes 23, do it again, get to 10, subtract 10, it now becomes XX, and you can continue on and on. Another option is...
I was going to say, even these steps can all be put into function that you can just swap out the variables.
Absolutely, yeah. Right now we're just writing the steps. Like this is one way of doing it. There are, I know, at least 4 ways of solving this particular problem. But this is one of the easiest ones to do. How do people feel about this particular thing right now? All right. So now all we have to do is just write the code. One line by line, just break it down. So first things first, call the function called toRoman. Cool. Let me comment this out for now. I can talk about exports in just a little bit. So I'll call this function, actually I'm not doing function, const toRoman, which is going to equal, it's going to take in some argument, do something. So define a function called toRoman. This function takes in an Arabic number, call it input number. I'm going to write some driver code for myself. One, the way that I copied the lines really fast was put it anywhere on the line, do Control-C, and then it copies the whole line. I can just paste it a whole bunch of times like this. Saves you a bunch of time of highlight, copy, and paste. So anywhere on the line, just click anything, and then copy and paste. Don't highlight anything, just anywhere on the line. So I believe they had a few things. One was, let's just take this and throw it here. So 4 is going to equal IV. 944 gives me CMLX IV, and then 150 gives me CO.
First one's so low.
Cool. All right, so we did number 1, we did number 2, number 3, create a list or table or something that contains Roman numerals, so like the letters, and their numerical equivalent ordered by largest to smallest. Any ideas of what data structure you'd like to use?
You know it, always.
Yep.
I mean, actually use an array, but an object is fine.
Yeah, you can use an array. You can use double array. Yeah, you can do double array. So one option is you have 2 arrays, one with all of the letters inside of them and one with all the numbers inside. Or you can do an object. I'm going to choose to do an object in this case. So I'll call this const Roman hash. Now, this Roman hash, I'm keeping it constant because it's not going to change. I'm just going to declare it once and we should be okay. Obviously, we can add things later, but for now, it's fine. Constants in both languages, JavaScript and Ruby, are all capital with underscores. So snake haste, but all caps. So I'm just going to go down the line, but I already have it, so I don't have to torture you with that. M is 1,000, CM is 900, and so on and so on and so on. So all the keys are going to be the letters. All the values are going to be the numbers. So we just did 1, 2, 3 things. Next, I'm going to create an empty string called answer. Is this going to be a const or a let? A let because changes. So let answer equal empty string. we're going to iterate over the list above. So this is where it starts getting a little bit hairy. So I don't know how to iterate over an object. That's something I don't really know. So I'm going to jump over here and just do JavaScript iterate over object. So how do I loop or enumerate over a JavaScript object? I'll just grab this, and we're going to read through the Stack Overflow. We have the question here. You can make sure you keep an eye on like when it was asked. So I have an object over here. This is the question, and then all the answers that are underneath. So it looks like the agreed upon answer is for some variable key. So I'm guessing that applies to this first thing. So every time I iterate, it's going to apply to this first thing and save it into the variable called key. In P, I'm going to print out key is going to equal P. So I'm just going to grab this and shove it over here. I'm not going to keep the, I'm going to try to make this a little bit better because key and P are not good variable names. It's hard for me to keep track. So I'm just going to call this for variable Roman letter in Roman hash. So this is my for loop. I'm the for variable Roman letter. So every single time I iterate through, Roman letter is saved as this letter, then this letter, then this letter, and so on and so forth in the Roman hash. Iterate over the list. Once you hit the first number that's smaller than the input number. So I think that's just as simple as if Roman hash at Roman letter is less than or equal to, right? Less than or equal to input number, I will do something. Subtract that number from input number and add that Roman numeral onto the string. So first things first, it says subtract that number. So we'll have input number is minus equals this thing. And then answer plus, what is the, I'm sorry, I'm not a JavaScript person. Well, how do I add on to a string?
It's still plus equals.
It's just plus equals? Okay. Roman letter. Repeat that until that number is equal to 0 and return the answer back out to the screen. So I know at one point I'm just going to return answer. How do I do this over and over until the point where until I have 0?
I mean, you can stick that loop inside of another qualifying thing, like a while or something.
I could, yeah. Is there a better way to do it? What do you think? Well, let's just see what we get for now. How's that? Let's see if this works. We could use recursion. I don't want to do that yet. Let's run node Roman numerals.js, and something blows up. So we're not going to worry too much. So it just says unexpected identifier. If Roman hash syntax error on this particular line 25. Let's take a look. Probably missing parentheses. Let's see if that is the issue. Nope, it's still unhappy.
What's that
Your
operator
friends
right
need to
there?
go around.
Oh, my parentheses are in the wrong spot. Let's go back to one screen. So Option Command 1. If let's see what we get. So we get IB. That's cool. Let's take a look at 2 Roman with 944. Let's see if that gives me this CMLX IB. CMXLIB. Is that the same one as we got before? Nope. CMXLIB. That's, is that a typo? Let's see. Roman numeral converter.
With 40, I should come up with that.
Convert. Oops, what the heck?
Adjustment.
Roman numeral, oh, my bad. 944. CMXLIB. CM. Oh, it's a typo on the original. My mistake. Good call. Nope, I just typed it wrong. CMXLIV. Is that what I got? CMXLIV. I think we're done. Wait, how is that possible? Oh, it's because, oh, I know it is. So let's do 33 and you'll see why. This is obviously not 33, right? So it's like 10 plus 9 plus 6 plus 6 or something like that. I'm not really sure what it is. Plus 4 plus 1. This is saying 10 plus 9 plus 5 plus 4 plus 1. 10 plus 9 plus 5 plus 4 plus 1 is 29. Am I crazy? 10, 9, 5, 4, 1. Okay. All we know is this is not right. It's supposed to be XXX, I. So we know we have a small bug here, but it's almost finished. So it looks like the big issue is repeat until this number is 0. This repeat until the number is 0 will kind of go back to the beginning. Just so I'm not like talking for a very, very long time, I'm going to give you another answer right over here. Let's take a look over here. Does this kind of help a little bit with in terms of like how much I should break down my pseudocode? I'm sorry I didn't get it completely right. But this is the answer that I personally use. There's a lot of things that are very similar. So again, we have that to Roman. It takes in a number. I create an answer that's just empty to begin with, and I'm returning that answer out here. Same Roman hash that we had before, but there's a lot more fancy calculations that are happening inside of here. And that was like the whole issue with why this is broken right now. So what this is doing is I'm iterating over the same thing. So I'm just going to call this, maybe I'll call this letter. Oh, real quick, fun tool. You double click something and it appears multiple times, Command D a whole bunch of times, and you can delete all of them at once. Roman, I'll just call it Roman letter just to make life a little easier. So I'm iterating every single time. Now let's say we get the number 33. When we get to 10, we know that 10 goes into 33 times. That's this line 20 here, the number of times repeated. So I'm going to round down the number, let's say it's 33, divided by, and we got to this particular point. Roman hash, it's going to be 10. So 33 divided by 10 gives me 3. I'm going to add those 3 letters onto my answer, and then I'm going to subtract that 30 value from the number and then repeat over and over again. This is the answer that I would use. There's also a way to do this using recursion, which Sean, I can just send you separately. Does this help at all whatsoever? Cool. All right, so let's say I have this whole thing, and we're going to go through the process of just committing and everything like that. Let's say during this time, I was writing some code, and your instructor, for some reason, decides to mess with the code. Like, so I've updated master while you're working on things. So I'm just going to add some random stuff here during this commit changes. And you can kind of see that master is now updated with this nonsensical text that's over here. The master that I have, if you take a look inside the README, this nonsensical text that's right above part 2, it's just a bunch of letters, is not inside of here. So I don't have the most up-to-date master. So I want to pull, meaning I want to pull in, I want to download all the new changes. Before I do anything, before I like commit any code, I always run git pull and then origin, which is where it is on GitHub, and then master. When I pull this, you can kind of see it's saying, okay, I'm going to take a look at what your code is, take a look at what's on GitHub. If there's any differences, I'm going to pull down all those changes. So you can see inside of README, there's 2 extra lines added over here. When I go back to my README, oh, there's that nonsensical text. Now my stuff is fully up to date with master. I'm going to make a few changes. I'm going to delete this, even though I've just pulled it in. I've made some changes to my Roman numerals. I'm going to run the thing just to see what's inside of here. Now, maybe the thing I used yesterday wasn't the best idea. So let's say that you have a giant box that you're going to ship off to your mom. Okay, so you have a giant box, and then you're going to be adding code to it. So I'm going to run Git Status to see all the things that I've changed. Now, relevant to where I'm at here, these are the 2 files that I've changed. I can see exactly what I changed running Git Diff, which says like, what did you change? You can kind of see over here in README, I removed these 3 lines. Inside of the new Roman numerals.js, I added all of these extra things. These green things are the things I've added. Cool. Git status. I'm going to add each one individually. So git add that. Git add Roman numerals. And when I run git status again, it's green. So again, before your box was empty, you were doing all this stuff around the house, and then you decided to put the things in the box to send to your mom. At this particular point, I can do git commit -m. I put a little stamp of approval. Love you, Mom. Wrote code. Actually, no, I'm going to demonstrate the commit messages. Fix the README and change the Roman numerals. At this point, I'm going to push it up. So I'm going to bring it to the post office and ship it out. So just do git push, origin, and then this particular branch. And then now it's in the air. It's being uploaded to GitHub. When you go back over to here, onto Git, oh God. When I'm here on the main page, you can kind of see it automatically detects that you pushed a branch. So I'm just going to compare in pull request. And a pull request really is I'm taking a look at the things that I changed compared to the original and seeing if it could be merged in. So I'm just going to create this pull request. And I can now see extra like that. It was 8 before and it suddenly became 9. And you can kind of see here's John's solution branch. I'm on Echo Platoon because I forked it so many times. Yeah, but you kind of get the idea. One last thing. Let's say that I'm working in a pair. Let's say I'm John and Michael. I want to check out back to master. Let's say that I want to push up my code for my partner to see. Like I can push it up. They can go there and they can click like copy and paste and things like that. But there's actually a faster way to do it over here. The good part about branches is that once they're pushed up to GitHub, everyone has access to those branches. So I'm here, I'm on my own computer, and you can kind of see that the code is now back to the original state. Like everything looks exactly the same as we expected. And I want us to take a look locally on my computer. Locally just means over here with me. Let's take a look at, I'm on the wrong group. Let's say I'm going to look at Jackie's solution. So you can kind of see Jackie has a branch called Jackie and John. It's up here on GitHub, meaning it's been pushed. And they have a few changes inside of here under Roman numerals. This is what their code looks like. Again, looking over here at Roman numerals for myself, there's nothing there. What I'm going to do instead of git checkout -b is for a new branch. I'm going to check out to a branch that already exists. So I do git checkout Jackie and John. It says that I've moved away from master and went out to Jackie and John. When I go back over here, it's actually automatically loaded in. So I don't have to, copy and paste code.
So when you check out a branch that's already on the cloud, basically?
Yes. Yeah, checking out, you can check out a new branch or check out an existing branch. It's just moving away from where you were to somebody else's.
But until you push to the repo to merge,
yes,
to create a pull request,
does not exist.
It only exists on your machine.
Exactly. Yes. So the question was, if I check out a branch locally on my machine, like locally just means on your machine only, and it's not pushed up to GitHub, then you're not able to check out that branch. So if let's say Ed checked out a branch called Ed's branch and did not push it to GitHub, I can't check out Ed's branch because it doesn't exist anywhere else but his own computer.
It's a different thing, a pull request and check out.
Pull request is basically is a request just to say like the code I wrote, I want to merge into master.
There's like an eye in the sky that's going to review your code.
Exactly. It's
That's-
mostly, it's going to be your
it's on
boss.
that guy, yeah.
And for the class purposes, it's going to be me, Josh, and Alex. I saw another hand.
So if I want to check out a branch, but I have stuff that I don't want overwritten, how do I just get certain pieces from that branch without? Is there a way to, like, you know how you add what you want to push?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a way to make exceptions where I want to pull everything, but I want to not this file? I want this file to remain the same as it is on my computer.
So pulling, no. So the answer, the question, sorry.
Not for pulling, I mean for checking out a branch.
For checking out a branch, whatever you don't add, just kind of like stays changed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
What is the expectation? So are we pushing up just homework assignments, or is it like daily challenges, or like what
All daily, basically every assignment that you see in the curriculum. So yeah, the question was, what's the expectation for opening pull requests and checking out and pushing things? Basically everything. It's just helpful for me to know exactly where you're at. If you want me to, there's way too many people and there's way too many challenges for us to go into each individual one. I tried to do that for a long time, but it takes me like 4 hours, one person to go like every single person. So if you want us to review something, it's an easy way for us just to see it. So when Alex, Josh, and I look at your code over here, it's kind of like, oh my gosh, there's 5 of them. But it's really fast. If, let's say, John Conway wants to have some help, there's a label here on the right, and just go help wanted. Click that little green thing so that when we go through, hey, there's a green thing that just says help wanted. We'll review at least one per day.
This is a little confusing for me. You know, there's like a dot GitHub file that is like not to be, you know, counted for when you're pushing a file.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's funny is that the README MDs or like whatever, for, like when you're submitting your pull request, actually those are the dot GitHub files that are on your computer. But it seems as if you want those filled out and pushed up once you actually generate your pull request, because it says like the name of the partner.
Sure. So the question was like, what is this .github folder? Basically, I might start removing these, but it's basically things that are built. So when you go here and you open a new pull request, you'll notice that there is some of this boilerplate code that's over here. It's meant for you to fill this out. I really don't read it. So, but it's like, there's a .github folder will automatically do that for you. So you can kind of see code review template, issue template, pull request template. This is basically what the pull request template looks like. So whenever you open a pull request, this automatically fills out. It's just an automated thing that we wrote.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Any other questions? All right. Yeah.
So if we're doing pairs
Mm-hmm.
for this, do you want them to be contributors, or do you want them to push their own thing separately?
Just right inside of your pull request. The question was, if I'm working in pairs, how does the other person pretty much get credit because only one person's pushing it up? That's why I have this little thing that says, I worked with blah.
You just said you don't look at it.
What's
So,
that?
you just said you don't look at it. So
I don't read this section over here because nobody fills it out. So make sure you just have like make sure you just
Put your name.
put your name somewhere.
okay.
Again, we're not grading based off of challenges because it takes too long. We're grading based off of assessments.
Okay.
Yep.
So what is that? Off of assessments?
So we have, speaking of which, I'm going to have everyone sign this pretty soon. Remember, we have the attendance criteria is 75% attendance, no more than 15 minutes late, no leaving earlier than 15 minutes prior to the end of the day. And then we have 5 assessments. The first one's going to be next Friday. And then there's a specific schedule that's in your curriculum. Let me just pull it up. Our grading of you is, where did it go? Our grading of you is through assessments. It's the easiest thing and fastest thing for us to grade. And then each one is kind of cumulative based off of the last one. So your first assessment will be based off of object orientation, which we're learning next week, and algorithm scripting. That's about it. Where is the student handbook? So everyone has the ability to view this. This is what we had to submit for the GI Bill. There are 5 assessments. Each one of them is worth a different percentage. those 5 assessments cumulatively will determine your final grade. You need to get a 75 in order to get to pass for GI Bill stuff and for us.
So the group and individual projects are not part of the final grade?
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah. The group projects are it's kind of, so I didn't think I was going to get into this, but I will be done soon. 8th slide. Software developers are seen mostly as modern day craftsmen. You know, it's like it's a highly romanticized view, and Alex really hates that. But it's like it's a highly romanticized view. Yes, like we are modern day craftsmen. Like we have our tools are on our computer, and like from our brains and our hands, we can create software and create something into existence. It's a very romanticized view, but some people, like a lot of people, take that very seriously. Especially this company called 8th Light. They call their software engineers crafters. Just like most modern day craftsmen, like you wouldn't hire someone to remodel your kitchen or redo a bathroom or build a deck who's like, you can't see evidence of their work. The individual and group projects are your evidence of work. So it's basically like, I built this from nothing. You know, like I built this app that does XYZ. My group and I built this better app like that does XYZ. It's what you're going to show off to employers. It's what you're going to show off to, you know, people hiring, your mentors, your TAs, people inside of the industry. This helps you get your first job. Like, no, you can't show somebody Roman numerals and expect them to hire you, is what I'm saying.
I mean, a lot of people just contribute to open source projects.
Yes, that is another way of doing things. You'll probably have to. Open source is hard to contribute to. It's everyone's like, oh, just contribute to open source. I was like, it's very difficult to contribute to something very, very high end. If it's something small, that's fine. But overall, to contribute to Rails or to Node or something like that is very, very challenging. Cool. All right.